On today's episode, we're going to be discussing sort of a hot topic, and that is navigating the world of travel while trying to stay healthy. I know it can feel like a serious challenge. I mean, who hasn't been there? You've got a fun weekend getaway planned, or maybe it's a 2-week vacation. You're exploring new places, but in the back of your mind, you're wondering, how am I going to stick to my goals when fast food is just everywhere? Today I'm going to dive into exactly how I handled a recent trip we took that was packed full of adventure. We had about a 2.5-hour drive, maybe a little bit more with stops and things like that. And we had a weekend of hiking and water park fun ahead of us. And like most places you travel to, the food options were, well, less than ideal. Think chicken tenders, burgers, nachos, and basically overpriced salads. And sure, indulging here and there is totally fine, but if you're like me and you want to feel good on your trip, for me, it's about avoiding the post-junk food slump. So in today's episode, I'm going to walk you through what I packed in my cooler and bags to make sure I had healthier options, some travel essentials, because yes, I have a list of must-haves that really just make a big difference for me. How I created a game plan for food, knowing things might change, but still having a solid foundation. The real life meals we ended up eating, especially when we got home late and were hungry, believe me. Snacks that worked for us in the car, and this was key for my toddler and our sanity. And finally, some things I noticed along the way, especially at the water park. They really make it just too easy for you to eat whatever's quick and typically unhealthy, and I've got some thoughts on that I want to share. I know it can feel super overwhelming trying to stick to your routine while traveling. You don't want to be the person stressing out over food choices, but if you're like me, you don't want to come back from your trip feeling like you've undone all of your hard work. So I'm going to break down how I found that balance and give you some practical tips that'll help you feel prepared for your next trip. So if you're ready for an inside look on how I travel, enjoy myself, and still feel great about what I'm eating, keep on listening. This is going to be a fun and insightful episode. Let's jump in. I'm Caitlin, and your host of the Glucose Glow Up Show. I'm a natural researcher and girl mama who dove into metabolic health research to heal my insulin resistance, all with the hopes of growing our family. Now I'm here to give you an inside look on how I achieved my glucose glow up and to share my journey with you so we all can achieve optimal health. I know we all want to be healthy, but with so much noise out there, it's hard to know where to start. Whether you're trying to start or grow your family, improve your fasting glucose or A1C, or just learn how I'm biohacking my health for longevity, you're in the right place. Let's get glowing. Okay, let's dive into my game plan for traveling. So in this case, we had a little bit of time in the car, not long, but long enough with a toddler that you really do need a plan. And I knew I wanted to jump right into our weekend full of hiking and water park fun. So I would say the couple days leading up to the trip, I mean, let's be real, I didn't even think about this trip until the day before we were leaving, but it was a really crazy and active week for me, so I almost didn't feel like planning, but I knew that I would feel better if I just did my usual thing like I always do, so I dove into the plan, even if it meant staying up really late the night before. So one of the first things that I did was I planned for a healthy dinner the night before we were leaving, so we were going to leave the next morning. So Thursday night we had salmon, and I love salmon in the air fryer, so it's really good protein and healthy fats kind of all in one there. We had this mixed stir-fry veggie bag. It was frozen in the freezer, so we heated that up in a pan with some butter on the stove, and then just white rice. That's what we had, so that was our little healthy dinner. So we had a mix of protein, fats, carbs, so pretty good dinner there. So that was kind of our foundation. And then as far as like snacks and meal preps, one of the things that I really like is, it's not a necessity, but for me, I love having a kitchen where we're staying if it's possible. It's just something I know that it will just help me access healthier foods, and I can make things and have a refrigerator and all of that. So it just makes it so much easier, especially when you have utensils and able to wash dishes and things like that. So there were several things that I did knowing that we were going to have a kitchen. So if you don't have a kitchen where you're staying, like that, this can be a little bit more challenging, but it's not impossible, right? You could use a cooler and just keep it with ice depending upon what you're bringing. So I prepped quite a few things. So one of the things I prepped was these muffins, and I can include the recipe in the show notes. They were like kind of a mix of flour, cottage cheese, and yogurt base. So they had a few different things in there and really good protein, and my toddler loves them. So we also enjoy them as a snack for hiking, or if we're in the car, just something easy to grab. The other thing, there's certain brands and different foods that I like, so I did a grocery pickup order with some of the snacks that I can only find at this certain store. So some of the things that I brought ahead of time were these mini perfect bars. Any of them are great. I got the peanut butter ones, Purely Elizabeth organic granola, Dave's Killer Bread English muffins, almond butter, Simple Mills almond flour crackers. I got some deli meat, eggs, Siggy's yogurt, and then I made ahead apple cinnamon steel cut oatmeal, something just quick and easy that I can reheat. So other things I did was I pre-made sandwiches for our picnic when we arrived. So we did a hike before we headed to the water park. So I had sandwiches ready to go and a few sides. I also prepped taco meat in advance. So we had nachos. We were going to have nachos at some point during the weekend. We did end up having them Friday night as our dinner. And I prepped the meat ahead of time, so it was all cooked. All we had to do was reheat it. I used the Siete seasoning, and we made them into nachos with the Siete lime chips. So I raided our refrigerator before we left as well and brought avocado, cheese, red bell pepper, and some organic greens to top on there. So that was some of the work that I did all before we left. Like, this was ready to go for us, and I just knew that that was really going to help me. We did end up making one trip to Walmart while we were there to grab a few extra snacks for our daughter, and I forgot something to put the deli meat on to make a sandwich, so I ended up buying Joseph's Lavish wraps. They're not the best option, I'll be super honest, but I like them. They wrap well, and once in a while, sure, it's okay, right? We got to pick our battles. So that was available, and I bought those so we could make sandwiches later on if we needed to. That's sort of like an easy, high protein option. I think, so the point I want to make here is I did all this prep in order to sort of make things go smoother while we were on our trip. I didn't even have to think about really much. I mean, we had most of what we needed in our room, and we could go to the water park and come back, and I knew that we weren't going to have to go grab something at the restaurant at the hotel or one of the restaurants nearby. I just felt more comfortable, and my daughter, they get hungry really quickly, so you want to have something available that's easy to reheat. So to avoid those meltdowns, at least in my season of life, it also makes my life easier from that standpoint. So if you're a parent out there with young kids, another pro tip, just to at least have something prepped for your trips and just have a little bit of a game plan. Okay, so when we arrive, I think this is what we're going to have for dinner. And then I made extras so that we could have it one other time during our trip. So just some things to think about as far as planning before you even get on your trip. Okay, let's talk a little bit about more specifically how things went during the trip, because obviously we can plan all day long, but things come up, unexpected things, and we just can't plan for everything, right? But overall, it went really well. So I'll just kind of share a little bit about kind of what happened on our trip. So we had the picnic lunch before we hiked. So I brought the sandwiches, and we had some crackers, almond flour crackers, some veggies, muffins. I mean, it was really high carb. Was it the perfect glucose balancing meal? No, but it kept us ready to go for, couple hours or a little bit more of hiking, and we ended up hiking in the rain. So, I mean, we were all just kind of wet and tired anyways, but I also brought lots of water. I brought those muffins and perfect bars along in our backpack to keep us going. I carry my daughter on my back, so it is a little bit more of a challenging hike, but I enjoy it. So that's just something, it's just good to have snacks along with you to kind of keep you energized. And in that case, you are working hard. It is exercise, so it's just something to keep in mind too. Like, you are using some of that excess glucose. So it didn't bother me as much knowing that I was moving my body. After hiking, we did head to our hotel and we got settled, and we had those nachos for dinner that I was talking about, and they were all prepped and ready. And I'm just so thankful for that, because we were wet and tired and just like ready to crash. So it was readily available. My daughter ate a ton of it. We enjoyed it. It was great. We ended up avoiding all the temptations of the pizza and chicken tenders that were being advertised like literally everywhere, at the hotel, in the lobby, in the elevator, in our room. I mean, it's nuts. The temptations are everywhere, and I was just really glad that we had something with high protein, fats, and some carbs that just kept us full and avoided hunger. Why do I do all this? I mean, of course, I want to enjoy my vacation and time at the water park. So like I said, I'd rather feel energized and ready to go versus hangry, tired, and unmotivated to go splash around with my daughter. I don't really enjoy feeling crappy after eating those types of foods consistently on a trip. So I really just pick and choose when I'm going to indulge. I'm not saying like you can't indulge and that I never do. I'm not saying that, but I mean, I'm there to have fun, so if I can't go have fun at the water park, like, I want to act like a little kid with her, right? I want to go down the slides, I want to splash around, I want to go do whatever she wants to do, so I want to know that I'm ready, and it's not like, oh, mama's not feeling so good right now, so you have to just go do that, with someone else or dada. So, that's just for me personally. I want to live more life, so that's some of the motivation behind this. Let's talk about kind of a little bit more about what we had while we were there. So the first morning we woke up and I had my eggs, yogurt, some of the oatmeal, and later on at the store we did get fresh strawberries. That's sort of hard to travel with in a cooler with ice. I just don't love doing that, so we ended up getting those later for the next morning. We then had leftover nachos for like an early lunch. We knew we were going to head to an early dinner at one of our favorite pizza spots nearby. So yes, I did have pizza. This was planned. So what I did was I had a house salad before the pizza to sort of get some veggies and fiber to sort of slow the release of glucose into my system a little bit. So got the pizza, and then I also enjoyed a glass of wine. It is totally fine to indulge when you're on vacation, right? I knew we were going to be having this meal. We planned in our game plan that we were going to have this meal at some point. I didn't know exactly when. It ended up being this dinner on Saturday night. And I felt good. I felt good and ready to go to the water park after. I didn't feel stuffed or hangry. I was not checking my glucose levels, but of course I know that it caused some sort of a spike, right? I had pizza, but we went with the thin crust, so a little bit less carbs. But again, it didn't bother me because I planned for it, and it's okay to enjoy ourselves once in a while. Like I said, I was still ready to go at the water park and enjoyed my time, so we had fun at the water park and then went off to bed. For our second morning, we had the same breakfast with some fresh fruit as well, so I just really want to reiterate that breakfast is so important, that you just kind of start off with a really stable meal, because it really sets the tone for the rest of your day, which is why I'm so crazy about having a kitchen so that we can cook a really healthy breakfast. Because we were checking out, we were not going to have access to our room again after going to the water park, so we ended up making our deli sandwiches on our wraps ahead of time. We had those after the water park. We had some of our crackers and the muffin again. Not great, right? But it was better than maybe some of the alternatives. So we were heading off for another hike before we were heading home. So we just kind of made it work with what we had. It's not like the best blood sugar balancing meal, but I want to give you really a look at what happened on our trip. We could have, went to a drive-thru or something and got something that would have left us probably even with a bigger spike and more hungry than when we started. So we picked our battles there as well. All right, let's talk about when we got home. So we finally got home, and of course we were just so hungry after after the long drive. And of course, the temptation is there too, right? All right, I want something now. I'm going to go to the drive-thru. I'm just going to get a burger and fries, and it's going to be exactly what I want. And I convinced myself, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I headed straight to the grocery store, and honestly, what I grabbed could have been better, but I wanted to make sure we got some good protein, and we were all super hungry from a long day, and weekend, that I just wanted to make sure everyone was full and satisfied, and this is what I got. So I got these frozen burritos. I got like one with chicken and one kind of more breakfasty. I didn't really know what people would prefer. People meaning my husband and daughter. And I bought Kodiak waffles, these cauliflower hash browns. They were really good. I've never had them before, but they caught my attention as something that wouldn't be as bad. And I put them in the air fryer. And then I also bought raspberries. So I don't know about you, but we just love breakfast for dinner. So I knew that it was going to be just stuff that we could either throw in the air fryer or the microwave. So it was super quick. And then we have leftovers for the other parts of the week, right? Whether that's breakfast or lunch or whatever. So obviously you end up spending more maybe initially than the, fast food. But I now have all these other items that I can have throughout the week. So that was sort of my thought process. So we had a little bit of a random breakfast for dinner. I think that's like a theme. I feel like we do that very often. So you might hear that from me a lot. The other thing we did is we focused on hydration for the rest of the night and got to bed as early as we could so we could really start the week strong. And I will say I felt good the next day. So woke up feeling, obviously a little tired, but I didn't feel like my stomach hurt or I had a headache or anything. I just felt really good. So I knew that things were in line. I did check my glucose levels in the morning. So my fasting glucose was at 84, I think. So that was pretty good for having kind of a higher carb day and / weekend. All right, I just want to talk a little bit next about things I just noticed on our trip. We don't go to water parks very often or hotels like this, but so it was, I guess I'm going to say eye-opening a little bit. I almost had to take a step back and realize like this was really real life. So first, like, wow, they make it so easy for you to eat like crap during your entire stay. I mean, I know there's dining meal plans and all different little restaurants and things that we could have gone to. The only one that we actually used was the little coffee shop downstairs. I got an Americano in the morning, and then my husband just got black coffee. So we don't put cream or sugar and stuff in our coffee. We just get it black. So that was the only thing that we used, but woo, I mean, you can get it all. Chicken tenders, burgers and fries, chicken sandwich, those soft baked pretzels, nachos and cheese dip, cheese curds, ice cream, soda, beer, fruity, alcoholic drinks, pastries, and all the sugary coffees. It's so easy, readily accessible. I think there's one restaurant that had like some nicer options. I'm just going to say it again because I don't want you to think I'm judging any of you. You can go on vacation, and if you want to drink and burgers and fries, please have it. And of course I have these things on occasion. It just like made me really sad to see how quote unquote normal this is. I didn't even think I was looking at real food most of the time. It just felt like I was in this other world, alternate universe where that's like the only thing that's available. It just makes me really sad, you guys. Of course I know you want to go on vacation and have a good time, but I just want you to feel energized and feel like you can really enjoy a vacation. I didn't really see it as an easy feat to try and maintain a balanced diet while spending a weekend at the water park hotel. I know that, it was really tempting, but bringing my game plan and just having that in the back of my mind really helped me. And like I said, I felt really good the next day, just a little tired. And I'm just back into my regular routine, and I just feel like I didn't take a lot of steps backwards. I feel like I just took it all in stride, and I'm ready for the next adventure. So there you have it. That was my weekend of travel, how I prepped, what we ate, and how I kept things somewhat balanced, even though the options weren't great. I hope this gives you some inspiration for your next trip. And I just want to remind you that it's not about being perfect, but it's about having a plan and making it work for you. Pick your battles, indulge where it counts, but just stay mindful of how you want to feel during and after your trip. So just some reminders: get your game plan ahead, make sure you're eating, a good healthy meal before you start your travels, whether that's in a car or in a plane or wherever you're going. Prep some snacks if you can. If you're going to have a cooler, that gives you a few options. If you're not going to have a cooler, then kind of plan accordingly with what you can make if it doesn't need to be in a cooler. And I just want to leave you with: travel doesn't have to derail your health goals. Just with a bit of planning and flexibility, you can enjoy your adventures without compromising how you feel. It's really just about finding that sweet spot where you can indulge a little bit, but also stay mindful of what you're eating. I want to thank you for tuning in again, and just stay energized and keep on glowing with every adventure you take.